Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botch Spots After Dark. I am your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me tonight, as always, if Al is my right hand, this man is my left hand. He is the belt collector. He is the big heel. He is all things HR Wrestle Talk. It's my boy, Big Mike. Mike, how are you, brother?
What's up, man? Can't wait for this episode.
And yes, Alaskan Crippler, always the Fallout music. The World on Fire by the Ink Spots. What are we doing this fine Tuesday night? Matt, it's good to see you. We are here for After Dark. We are diving into something very special. But before I tell you what that is, you know who I have to introduce? The guy right here. He is the 1 and 2 on Wednesday nights. He is the host of the Boom with Cam G. He is the host of Friday Night Review. He is the Devon to my Bubba Ray. Cam, get those fucking tables. How are you, brother?
What is going on, my brothers, man? Hey, man, I'm ready for this episode. It's a pretty big episode, so I'm here for it, man.
The first time we did this, it was the very first episode. You are right-handed though. Which hand do you jack off with, right or left? It's either or, really, whatever I feel like.
Well,
Matt.
it's right when you want to be you, and you go left if you want stranger. So
set on your hand until it falls asleep, and then you do your thing.
Exactly.
I appreciate everybody stopping by. What's up? What's up? Checking with the thing, spitting a fat cloud like Triple H. You're absolutely right. Al's here. Brenda's here. Matt's here. Fireproof is here. What's up, Mike? And like I said, it changes from moment to moment. You never really know. Gentlemen, it is Botch Spots and Share Shots, even if it is after dark. I'm going to ask you the golden question around these parts. And every day it changes because you never know what's going to have you pissed off for greatness this week in the world of professional wrestling. Cam, you're the guest. So I'm going to ask you, man, what's got you the most worked up this week, brother?
Man, that's a good question. I think it would probably be. I've spoken on this many times, but it's probably just the wrestling community. You know, I'm typically always going at the wrestling community. Obviously, I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point or a state of the community where we all kind of just appreciate how well wrestling is doing right now. Again, I've said this in the past, but you know what a time it is right now to be a wrestling fan, because wrestling is just so oversaturated with the indies and the mainstream wrestling, you know. But you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of bickering in the community because people want to be, you know, they play this tribalism. Oh, I'm a WWE only person, or I'm an AEW only person, or whatever. They don't just appreciate what pro wrestling is right now. So that's what probably has me pissed off for greatness this week. So, yeah.
So to be completely honest with you, dude, yesterday I got up and I was, you know, drinking a nice big tall glass of Haterade, and somebody slid in my DMs. And this goes along with what you're saying, because I was sitting there minding my own damn business, as I often do. And I posted
this video. I wanted to know what happened.
Okay, so I posted on, you know, those stupid little things on your Instagram, like DMs, where it's like you get a 50 character like little note you can put. Mm-hmm. And I was just, my boy Will, what's up, Dad Hat? What's up, Alaskan Crippler? So my little note the other day, I guess it was Sunday afternoon, and all I put was TK inflates numbers the way dudes do their Tinder profile. And it was just a joke. It was just a joke. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just kidding. I'm sorry, Crippler. I'll mute the next round of ads so we can keep those at bay tonight as much as possible. So I put it up there. It was just for fun. I don't really give a shit. Everybody knows, like I said, love me or hate me, I'm going to write rave reviews about good wrestling. I'm going to shit all over bad wrestling. That's what I do. That's literally what I do. So somebody slid into my DMs and they were like, look, I'm not one to tell you what to do with your content, but with your follower count, like you really need to streamline it and focus, because what you're saying could feed the tribalist flames here, because you're calling AEW out for something everybody does. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. And last summer, when I was in Nissan Stadium for SummerSlam, WWE said they sold it out, 60,000 tickets or whatever it was. And I was like, that's bullshit. Because I've been in Nissan Stadium sold out for a Titans game in the playoffs. I know what, 48,000 people look like in that stadium, and WWE wasn't even close to it. So my point was, I shit equally on everybody, good, bad, or indifferent. But the tribalism thing it's funny to me, because that person was getting on to me for exactly what they were doing. They came to the defense of somebody who, if they couldn't pay their rent at the first of the month, Tony Khan wouldn't give a shit about that person. And they were defending them like Tony Khan pays their bills. Shadow and Matter flirting already. All is good in the neighborhood. But I agree. Tribalism is a huge issue. Mike, what about you, brother? What has you pissed off for greatness this week? Will shit on anybody. You're absolutely right. $20 is $20.
There's two things. Well, one thing is going to be not really mad about much. You already discussed the crap that's going on, the IWC and stuff like that. So, that's a never-ending thing. But you said it's good or bad. I'll tell you right now, Chad Gable finally getting that shot at the Intercontinental Championship. And that's fucking something I want to see. And, of course, unfortunately, the 2 losses of 2 people.
I can get behind Gable for sure.
Yeah.
I've 1,000%. I'm here for Gable. Shadow's either here for Gable or here for me bukakiing his chest. One of the two. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. Well, for me, I'm not really pissed off. I don't really have anything that's got me like crazy worked up this week.
No, I'm excited.
I'm trying to think. No. I mean, I don't really have anything. I'm not really upset. I wish that I've got one. I've got a pissed off for greatness. Okay.
Do it.
Here's my pissed off for greatness. I was watching NWA 75 because you know me, that's what I do. I'm one of whatever. What does Matt say? I'm one of like the 5 people that watch NWA weekly. I'm pissed off for people stealing my shit. Shadow had some IP that was got some hornswoggled happen. Much love to Sammy. I love you, Sammy. So does Kodiak Zam. That was a fucking Zodiac Cam. I was all over the place with that.
You flipped that somehow.
Kodiak Zam. I'm pissed off by the discourse. Which discourse, Mateo? I'm not real sure. Between like the communities and everybody, like what discourse? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know what that means. Is that over my head? Did I just miss something?
I think he means everything.
Oh, pissed off by just everything. All of it. He's pissed off about everything.
Oh, yeah.
I can get behind that. I'm okay with it. All right, gentlemen. Punk and Perry. Oh, yeah, I definitely understand. Can't understand that. Kodiak Zam.
Leave my boy alone. Leave my boy Punk alone, man.
That's your that can be your ghostwriting name, Cam. But gentlemen, we're here. The first episode we ever did of Botch Bots and Chair Shots After Dark was to dive into the saga that was Chris Benoit. That night we talked about everything. I was counting the number of viewers at Tyrus's retirement match. Thank you, Matt, for clarifying that. All 5 of them. There would have been 7, but me and Al couldn't make it because we had COVID. Jen, thanks for stopping by. But tonight, the first time we had this conversation, we spoke very by the books. Mike, you and I sat down. We had this conversation. We said, this is clear cut what happened. This is how it happened. There was reports. This is boom, just tonight's not that night.
No.
Tonight, we're going to replace the UT ball cap and the cap Cam, the hat Cam has on. We're going to take the Wyatt hat off of Mike. And we're going to have a discussion about the theories behind.
Take the white hat off. Okay, gotcha.
Put your tinfoil hat on. No, I was just kidding. No, I was going to say put a tinfoil hat on. So because that's what
the man.
That's what we're here to talk about tonight. It's going to be a very tinfoil hat conversation. Sammy says hydrate. Tonight's episode is strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper. So that's where we're going to start. Mike, you wanted to have a part 2 behind this. This is kind of your baby in a lot of ways. I ran the first show because I wanted it to be very by the book. Tonight, you have some stuff you wanted to talk about. You and Cam talked about some stuff. Cam's seen a couple videos now. He's not quite ready to pull the curtain all the way back, but he's finally opening. Cam's like, let's have a conversation. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I want to have a conversation. Not necessarily, we know what happened, the clear cut black and white of what happened. What I want to have the conversation tonight is, what if that wasn't what happened?
So here we go. I remember when I first met Cam, all right? Cam would not stay in a fucking life. Once you said Ben, he was gone. Like, you couldn't even say Benoit. If you said Chris, he was gone. Like, you couldn't even say Chris. I could have been saying Chris Masters. That fucker was already gone. He wanted nothing to do with it. Over time, of course, from what he says, he goes, well, I'm kind of, when I go on your lives, it's kind of what I expect. And now, can we all admit, everybody that's in here that's part of Wrestle Talk, Shadow and everybody, I don't talk about Benoit as much as I used to.
I got introduced to you. You were the Benoit guy.
Oh, absolutely. I was the Benoit guy. I was the belt guy. I was the man with many accounts. I was me. So
I got introduced to you through Shadow, I believe. I think.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. I don't know.
I think so. I think you might have. I don't know. Everybody met up at almost the exact same time. Like, my life just hit one day, and I met everybody, and I'm happy I met everybody. It's been good.
He talks about it in his sleep.
Oh God,
Jesus Christ.
So, and the reason why I talked about it so much is because the man does have a legacy. If you really think about it, he's got a legacy. All right. Either way you look at it, every wrestler has skeletons in their closet. They've done fucked up things. No matter what, no matter which way you look at it. All right. We can talk about Jeff Hardy driving drunk. You can talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin beating on Denver. You could talk about Hulk Hogan and his slurs and the shit that he's done. We can talk about all that stuff, right? And
absolutely.
Another 2 people, which I'm not going to mention because I want to save that for a future episode. But know what? Fuck it. Here's a teaser. Miss Elizabeth. And,
yeah.
Shit. Why is he escaping my Lex Luger? Okay. You have that situation, but what you've done, does that really identify? I mean, does that really take away what you've done in the industry and all that stuff? No, I believe that Nancy should be there. I believe for their work. Now, if we're talking about the whole conspiracy stuff, and you know what? I was one of the people that used to sit there and go, oh, Kevin Sullivan, blah, 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 blah. I went through the whole 9 and, yeah, he had a key to their house and all that shit, but, there's always that what if. No matter what, you're going to have that what if. But I'm not going down that route, all right? My route is still sticking to the same thing. Wrestling is very dangerous. We've had the discussion about Canyon and how he's lost it in an instant. Depression mixed with head injuries, mixed with everything else, drinking and all that stuff takes a toll on you, and the traveling and all that stuff. We
Scissor me, Daddy Just.
We know this. We know, and Cam finally opened somewhat and was willing to talk about it. So he watched, of course. Shout out to Purple Velvet, Purple Sky 11. Was that what it was?
Yep.
Purple Sky 11. Once again, she went to in depth. If you guys really want to go to in depth, go ahead and make sure you check out her YouTube video. So that quick shout out. Once again, she goes in fucking depth. She goes, this doesn't make sense. Like, what the hell? Neighbor going in, not smelling anything, but the cops, after doors already been open for a while, going in, fucking getting a whiff of something rancid. Knife being under Daniel's bed. Missing phone, which you said you want to talk about. There's a lot. There's a lot of shitty police investigation and how Benoit also felt like he was being followed beforehand. So you gotta look at the text messages that he sent and how odd he was sounding. The phone call he had, and the next thing you know, hearing something in the back, and then quick hang up, which was odd.
Let's kind of start there. Before we dive into the back half of it, let's start
I'm ranting, raving, ain't I? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Scouts, thanks for stopping by. Fireproof 1983, the text to Chavo. Let's start with the cell phone thing. Matt's talking about Return to Wrestling. If you don't know, Creatia Conversations, Creatia World, Smacking It Raw, they're the #1 podcast on the Hub. They cover tons of stuff. Their show, Return to Wrestling, is primo. You should definitely check them out. But what he's talking about is the Kevin Sullivan feud in WCW, because in that feud, it had to do with Nancy and them and the back and forth and the Four Horsemen fucking other dudes' wives, which Flair had been doing since the 70s. Like, this was a whole thing. And then you think about the reality of what happens later and the fact that Nancy and Chris actually got married and actually got together after Kevin Sullivan and Nancy divorced and everything. So let's start with the cell phone. Because to me personally, when you're looking at, I appreciate the raid too, by the way, Scouts. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you look at the cell phone side of things, the big red flag is he sent the messages on the last time he sent Chavo a message was Sunday afternoon before he missed the pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. When everything happened and the cops went through and the cops saw the house and got all the evidence together, his cell phone was missing.
Yes.
His cell phone has never been recovered. It's never been turned into police, nothing. Yeah. We know the man there is proof because Chavo, there were a couple other guys in the Dark Side of the Ring episode that mentioned they talked to him via text, because the question is, Fireproof 1983 says it here. They were getting the same text messages sent between 2 or 3 wrestlers that weren't Chris text messages.
Yes.
And what I say that, and I mean that, is anybody who talks to me via text, the way I text and the way I do things is very specific. Jericho is one of them. Yeah, Shadow, thank you. I put a poll up in the thing. It was, can you separate the person and the art? And it was yes, no, and depends on the situation. I wanted the chat to go ahead and answer that now. And then at the end of it, I'm going to ask the same question again. So for me, the first red flag in the whole situation is the fact that we don't have the cell phone.
Yeah.
Cam, let's get you in on this. Where's your head at originally with all of this when you look at it? Because like Mike said, initially you were very, I don't want to say anti the conversation, because this is a tough conversation that nobody wants to have, because when it boils down to it, 3 people lost their lives and only one of them had the choice. When you think about it now compared to where you were at maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, where's your head at with the situation now?
Man, that's a tough question because I feel like right now I'm at like a very confused state because I felt like I got the full story when watching Dark Side of the Ring, but I was completely wrong. So when you watch, again, shout out to Purple Sky 11. When you watch her, she has made like a 25-part series, taking a deep dive into the case. They've missed so much stuff like they didn't even talk about. So for right now, I'm just even more confused about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not quite sure how to feel about it. The one thing I can say though, because like I said, I can use my own brain and form my own, opinions and my own takes about it. And I can honestly tell you that at the end of the day, with everything, with all the inconsistencies about this case, whatever, I can honestly tell you that something is not right. Like something it just doesn't add up. Something it's that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach, like something just isn't right. That's the one thing I definitely can't say about it.
Mike, do you have anything to throw in on the cell phone before I bring up my next red flag?
So the cell phone part, Chris's cell phone was still people were still receiving messages after he died, and messages were also coming from Nancy's cell phone. I also came to the conclusion, like when someone actually corrected me on this too. So I said, and this is someone that doesn't 100 Lord Maddox, which I wish he could have been here right now, but his phone was dying, and we can't have him up here. But one of these days we will. Maddox said, but you could still see the time that it was sent. So, with that being said, I thought maybe it was a delay because of the technology at the time. It was that T9 text, and texts didn't go through right away. It could have been delayed or whatever. All in all, I still, there's something weird. I still kind of stick to my own thing right now. I'm not going into the whole I believe someone else did it. Once again, is it always possible? Yes. No matter what, it's always going to be possible. Police have fucked up before, and then 30, 40, 50 years down the line going, oh, they messed up on this investigation. No, these are the pictures. What are these footprints? Why didn't they say anything about this? And it's I still put some of the blame on Vince. All right, and people can sit there and go, he was ECW. ECW, they didn't really stick around. Like, I mean, if they got hurt, they had time off. They didn't have to travel that far. You have exhaustion, you have depression from losing Eddie, you have a lot of shit. So, plain and simple, I still kind of stick to what I'm saying, but the cell phone thing is very, very, very fucking suspicious. And for them still not to find it to this day is still also fucking weird.
So I have the for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about or we're referring to, I do have kind of like a brief description of what was kind of said or whatever in the messages between Benoit and Chavo. So Benoit had stated that he had a stressful day due to Nancy and Daniel being sick from food poisoning. Guerrero then replied, "All right, man, if you need anything, I'm here to talk. I'm here for you." And Benoit ended the conversation with, "Chavo, I love you." So that was what was back and forth between Chavo and Benoit.
That was one of the red flags too. That's what I was thinking. I don't think I necessarily finished that train of thought then, but the way I text, like people can tell when I'm texting them because of the way I text. Cam has a specific way, the way he talks and his mannerisms via text. Mike does too. We all do. And that's what Chavo and Jericho and them were trying to say was they were messages from his phone. Yes, but it wasn't like it was coming from Chris. They weren't worded the way Chris spoke. They weren't grammatically the same way. Like there were things that if somebody had the cell phone and could look at it, could possibly go, yeah, Chris didn't type this. Or Chris being so far delusional and out of it because of CTE, if that was the breaking point that night, they could be able, the cell phone is a missing piece of this puzzle because it would give us so much information. It would give us links to what was going on at that house. It would give us access to what he was doing and looking at, who he called and who he texts. because they've got phone records, but not the actual phone itself.
Yep.
My next big red flag, gentlemen, and this is one that in 2023 still blows my mind that they haven't tracked down yet, because 15 years. What's up?
One more thing about the text messages.
Yeah.
Cam, can you look this up real quick? I believe it was the garage door is open and the dogs were in the garage or the yard. I know where they were.
Ooh, I do remember what you're talking about.
They were. I think they were in the yard.
He messaged.
Chavo.
Yeah, he messaged Chavo, and it was like the back door's open and the dogs are in the back house or whatever. And Chavo was like, "Why the fuck would you need to tell me that?"
Yeah.
And that was another one, because people were getting weird messages that didn't make sense.
Right.
They were in the enclosed pool area. Thank you, Alaskan
Yeah.
Crippler. The wording of it was a little bit weird.
Yeah, and the gate was left open too.
Correct.
Okay, whoa, but they were in the pool area that was enclosed. The gate was closed. Once again, the gate was fucking closed. Yeah. How did the dogs get into the yard?
So the night before,
Cam know it. I can see in his eyes.
The night before everything is reported to the police, okay? There was a change made to Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page. And this is what I'm saying in 2023. It blows my mind that we haven't got more information from this. Because in 2023, you can still go to Wikipedia and you can still edit just about anything as long as you have a login and a password for the website. When they changed it that night, they said that Chris missed the pay-per-view to mourn the passing of his wife and son, Nancy and Daniel. Okay? Then it got changed back to it not being there, and then the deaths were reported. My question for you, gentlemen, is how could they not trace who made those changes, when those changes were made, and where they were made from using an IP address?
They did trace it.
Did they? Where did it come from?
It was from a 16-year-old kid that lived in Connecticut.
Really?
Yes.
How did the kid know?
Once again, he was in Connecticut.
So it still raises the question: how could it
be headquarters?
Oh, it's in Connecticut. So, like, if you look at the fact that his Wikipedia was changed, even if it was by a 16-year-old kid in Connecticut.
Let me. You keep talking. I'm gonna make sure I get that facts.
Right? No, pull up your sources. I love that about this, is that we're pulling sources as we go. But then you look at the fact also, Mike, and we mentioned on this briefly before. Just says he's just learning a lot of this stuff now. Cam wants a big busty blonde instead of a big busty ginger. Fireproof still saying it's a cover-up. Mike, we touched about this on a little bit in the first episode, and I'm going to bring it up now because it's another red flag in this conversation. His cousin had an unexpected death in Canada the same day that Chris was found. And this was also a surprise, unexpected unaliving of himself. And it was very odd timing that multiple people from this family were found, and both of them had questionable unalivings.
And then there was a also a knife underneath Daniel's bed.
So the Wikipedia page, Cam. I know that the guys are. It's obviously impossible to have a serious conversation when you got Jackson, Matt, and everybody in the chat trying to figure out how to whore you out. As we continue to pull this curtain back for you.
All right, right here.
Okay, what's up?
Can I? Fuck! How can I send you the link? There's
put it in the private chat. It's on your phone, isn't it?
No, I have it on my computer. I'll put the link in the chat here.
All right.
There's a video of the police interrogating the kid.
Really?
Yes.
Please hold.
Please hold.
I'm looking it up, inputting, pasting, and going.
That's part 1.
Oh, that's to the series?
No.
Camera's rolling. It's right behind
What
you.
is this?
Out of the way.
I just type. I mean, you can see the. I believe this was it. But it just says Benoit Wikipedia.
You're Steven, and you're Matthew, right? With 1 or 2 T's?
2.
Okay.
I believe this was it. Don't quote me on it.
Okay, Matthew. What's your date of birth, please?
February 5th, 1988.
Okay, and where do you live? Yeah, the address. Let's speak up a little bit.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm going to fast forward some.
All right, and Bed Bath & Beyond, where's that?
Ridgeway.
Okay.
Nobody cares about Bed Bath & Beyond.
And when was that?
Sunday.
Around what time Sunday? Roughly.
It was like at night. Maybe between 10 and 12ish before the post.
I believe it was 16 or 17.
Here, I'll turn it up for you, Matt. I'm sorry.
Okay. Where's this computer that you were using?
My laptop. Oh, it's at home.
It's at home. I'm going to ask for consent for it to search. All right.
Is that better? Can y'all hear it now?
Okay. It won't hurt the computer. It's just a forensic examination. Because what they really want to do is find out where these rumors started.
Whoever's tapping on that
I'm not
glass
sure if
is
they're
annoying
still
as
up or not.
shit.
They could have
Well,
been.
they can,
No, I know it's
As
not
long as
you
you
guys.
were
It's
in
in the video.
and you looked at it, they can check it. Okay.
Okay.
I think
So,
that it's one
what
of
type
the,
of computer you
the
have?
things kind of.
Like a Dell Inspiron.
I was like, either that or it's a fucked up thing.
Okay, so you saw these rumors. You're not sure exactly what sites, but it was in forums.
I believe so.
Okay.
Mostly, I kind of added fuel to the fire. It was like really more of my own speculation.
Okay. And what was your speculation?
I just thought that his wife may have died or.
Okay. And you speculate on
Yeah.
how?
No, I can't. It was wrong. I just cause I saw he never misses a date.
Okay. But did you speculate on how she died?
No,
No.
just that she was dead.
Just that she was
Yeah,
dead.
nothing about
Okay.
murders or anything.
Okay. All right. Go on.
So I was just on Wikipedia and I just made the post. Because a lot of people on Wikipedia make unsourced posts and stuff.
Mhm.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So this was just I just assumed.
So
I can't really explain why. It was just stupid.
What's up, Mike?
said he heard it on forums, so people were already talking about it prior to that.
So do we think in the world, this tapping, that's what I said. It's obviously in the video. I don't know what the fuck is going on with the tapping, but it's driving me crazy. No. So the question is, I'm gonna pull this now because I don't want to keep hearing that fucking tapping. But that video pretty much sums the most of it up that I wanted to get across, is that this kid said that he was in forums, and we've talked about it on Creation Conversations quite a bit. It sounds like Will, when he's getting ready to smoke, it does the grinder and the scraping and all of that. It's very ritualistic. When how old is the kid? He said that he was born in 88, so he's 3 years younger than I am. So he would have been in the teenagers, early teens, 16, 17 range, I'd probably say. But he had the knowledge from the forums. We've seen in 2023, we've talked about at Creation Conversations, how in Discord forums and on stuff like that, we've seen major leaks happen. in these forums and on Reddit and stuff like that. So the question is for you guys, I'll ask you, Cam, since he got up, like, if the kid found these in the forums, wouldn't you think that they would want to go back to where this conversation started online? Isn't this even 15, 20 years ago now? Wasn't this still a big enough thing that they could have gone, okay, we saw this in the forums. You heard that they were talking and speculating that Nancy passed away, and then source it. Where did these conversations start? Because if it didn't get reported by the reports from WWE and the police didn't come in until later, where is this kid reading these speculations and stuff in these forums that he's talking about? Like, what do you guys think about that?
The other question is, what forums were they and who said it? You know,
Bingo, that's what I'm saying.
Because just think about it. If someone did a triple murder and they were that psychotic and they wanted people to find out, they could have been like, hey, you go on forums. You're not really watched on forums. Your IP address back then wasn't tracked. You could hide your IP address if you're good enough. Hell yeah, hey, these two are dead. Benoit's not blah, blah, blah. And then took care of Benoit later on.
So is there something to be said then for the reality of the missing link here? Because there's been, the cell phone could be triangulated and tracked, as Pineapple expresses that sounds, we know they can track you. Fireproof brings up the mob hit. I don't understand how he would be tied to the mob, but I mean, I'm not saying it's an unrealistic thing. I mean, yeah, buddy. What's up, Trent? Thanks for stopping by, bud. So looking at the red flags we've tallied so far, the missing cell phones, boom. Nobody can find his cell phone, the messages he sent, who he was talking to. The Wikipedia page. The kid said he got this stuff in the forums. Who was talking about this 24, 36 hours before the police reported it? How did they already know if WWE didn't know yet? Okay. My next one is the missing house key. Okay. This one for me was a red flag because I say everybody's got to hide a key, right? Like, right. Everybody knows about them. We've all had to hide a key somewhere so we could get out. The Shadow says law enforcement really didn't have the authority to be in these things like they do now. The internet was very Wild West then. I'm not saying it wasn't, but what I'm saying is there was still the ability to track IPs even in the earliest days of the internet. If Tom and MySpace could teach a 12-year-old Will how to do HTML codes and like MDOS stuff, so that way I could put the hottest corn song on my MySpace profile. Like, I'm pretty sure the FBI could go through and find where some of this happened. But my next one is the missing house key. Kevin Sullivan had a house key because him and Nancy were ex-spouses. And we know that he had a key to their house because their relationship continued to be forward after the marriage. Outside of knowing that the key is missing, do you guys think there's been enough of a case built so far to go, maybe it isn't as cut and dry as we thought?
So there are a couple other things. You talk about the missing house key.
Yeah.
Both doors were locked.
Mm-hmm.
The neighbor had a key.
Correct.
But he said the garage door was open. But the neighbor, I forgot where the neighbor brought the dogs. I think she put them in the kennel. But another question is, when you walked in there, you didn't smell a fucking thing. The AC was off.
What's up, Mannix? Thanks for stopping by.
So decomposed by that time. Now, my other question is, if that fucking neighbor didn't, the neighbor could have smelled something because the cops smelled it right away when they walked in. Why did it take her to walk in the house, upstairs to Daniel's room, to run out and say, oh my God, they're dead, they're dead, they're dead? And to add this to it, she also moved. She moved away from there with nobody, because I think someone went there for an interview. And she goes, I have nothing to say. And then she slammed the door. The next day, she moved. Well, I don't know. Nobody knows what she moved to.
I mean, so we're saying that at the very least, there's some questions. The story might not be as cut and dry as what the police reports initially say.
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, this is another big one. And Cam, I'm gonna have you lead off on this one, okay? This one for me is always a huge red flag in this conversation. In the police report, Redeemed Hydrate, thank you. I'll take a drink of my strawberries and cream, Dr. Pepper. In the police report, it said they found multiple empty bottles of wine throughout, like not strewn throughout the house, but strategically throughout the house, where it looked like Chris had been drinking throughout the day. There's a lot to be said about that because people, including Chavo, has said Chris wasn't a huge drinker. Chris would have a glass of red wine with dinner, but he wasn't one that would get, he wasn't going to get smashed. He wasn't going to get schmammered, as it were. He wasn't getting white girl wasted.
Well, there was another person, I believe it was Rene Dupree, that said that he did drink, which there you go, the complication. Chavo says he didn't get wasted. He said he did, and he goes, "Oh yeah." Then you've seen the evil come out because he was an angry drunk. So I don't know. Once again, I was around. I don't know what Benoit did when he drank.
Well, none of us were there. This is ultimately speculation because that's the whole point of a tinfoil hat party is because none of us were there. None of us know for sure. And again, I reiterate for the fact, two things. One, thanks for stopping by, everybody. If you're here, click that follow button. Make sure you give us a follow, hit the notification bell so you know when Rivet City Radio goes live. Number two is that everything we do is speculation because we weren't there. So we have to speculate on it. The Cam, where's your head at? Hop back in here.
It's just like I said, there's so many inconsistencies, and again, it's such an eye opener to watch this entire case be basically blown up. You know what I mean? And that's what's weird to me. I just feel like the investigation or lack thereof just really wasn't done it justice. You know what I mean? Because it's apparent. I feel like they really didn't. Investigators they either really didn't care because I mean, again, 3 people died that night, so there's not really a case to build. So they were just like, oh yeah, it's just we're taking it as a murder, and or double murder suicide. So we're just gonna leave it at that. I don't think they really wanted or had the need to really dive into it like they should have. So it's unfortunate that it was done that way.
And also, Cam, you watched the Purple Sky stuff.
Mm.
In one report, it said he was hanging, and then another report said he was slouched over.
Mm-hmm.
But here's an important part about the whole thing. Anyways, they still performed the autopsy, gentlemen.
Yes.
And the blood alcohol content in his autopsy was not concurrent with somebody that had drank between 4 and 6 whole bottles of wine, as the police report said they found in the gym and in the kitchen of the house. If a man has a 0.0 alcohol in his blood, but the police report says that they found 4 to 6 empty bottles of wine, how does this go together? Where did at the very least, who wasted all that fucking wine? Chris Benoit wasn't drinking cheap wine at least. So who wasted 6 bottles of wine? Because our boy obviously hadn't drank any of it.
Even I'm pretty sure that in that during the autopsy as well, they were also checking for, because obviously they found prescriptions made out to Benoit and Nancy, obviously. So during the autopsy of Benoit, there wasn't even anything in his system drug like pill wise, like prescription wise. According to what I know, so even that is kind of strange. They said they found him hanging, but yet there's no markings on his neck from any kind of a struggle or anything like that. They said he put what was it, like a towel or I think around his neck or whatever,
like a workout towel, like a gym towel.
So again, why would he do that if that was his plan to hang himself? Like that doesn't add up at all.
This is this is a lot like them saying that Kurt Cobain took the time to shoot 2.5 grams of heroin into his system and then politely put everything away and clean up the room and organize everything and then dust down his shotgun all before he offed himself. Like, I don't know about you guys. I don't know a lot of junkies that are going to take that kind of time when they're alive, let alone the day they're going to off themselves. But
so I would like to make a comparison to that too. This is kind of like off topic or whatever, but it relates. So obviously, like, you know, I'm a big hip hop fan, obviously, or whatever. And some years ago, Mac Miller had passed away. He had passed away from like an overdose or whatever.
correct.
Now the thing that's weird with that is the exact same thing you just said, right? Because they said he passed from an overdose, but yet when they checked like his house or whatever, his house was scrubbed clean of any, like, you know, evidence of drug use or anything like that, which doesn't make any sense.
That's because Ariana Grande had our boy Mac Miller put up.
So
She had him put on a T-shirt, and I've stood by that since day one. That's an episode I will dedicate to. Ariana Grande is the reason why we don't have Mac Miller in 2023.
So and all right, so we were talking about the drinking and the painkillers. Well, no, not many people know that Nancy seen the exact same doctor that Benoit did. She was also prescribed painkillers. She was also a very heavy drinker. Now, I didn't get to stay. Nobody really touched upon her blood alcohol level.
Keep going.
So that maybe sometime I have to look up. And then there was markings on Daniel, not Daniel, but Chris. Like there was I guess a needle mark in his neck. And then
Okay, here's the
But-
Nancy 43. She had therapeutic levels of 2 different medications in her blood, which means she was within the limits of her prescription. Okay.
Mhm.
She also had a 0.18 blood alcohol level, which is almost double the legal limit. But they're saying that part of the alcohol in her system. So Scouse is right. There were 3 drugs in her system, 2 prescriptions that were both at a therapeutic level, meaning she wasn't overtaking anything, and then the alcohol. She, however, was double the legal limit in alcohol, but they said some of that was starting because of the decomposition of her body. So she wasn't necessarily double the legal limit. She was drunk when she passed, though.
Yeah.
What I just read off of the autopsy report, Scouse, was that she had 2 medications that were 2 prescribed medications listed on her autopsy report. I'm reading the autopsy report. So I'm sorry. No, it was 3 in the alcohol. It was 3, 2 plus the alcohol. I just read the autopsy report.
Yeah, it's you know, it's crazy. It's crazy how they always bring up the drug abuse when it comes to Chris. But I honestly feel like, and it's obvious that he did have an issue, but I don't feel like Nancy's innocent in that either, because she obviously had an even bigger problem, I think, with prescriptions or whatever. Because if you look up the prescriptions that she was getting filled out, it's like a crazy amount of stuff she was taking at the time. It's wild.
What if Nancy unalived Daniel because she couldn't handle dealing with him and his mental trouble, etc., and Chris seen this and snapped on her, took her and his life? So what he's saying is, what if Nancy went crazy, she ended up being the one to hurt Daniel. Chris came in while it was happening because she was drunk and mad, and then he couldn't deal with the guilt because of his CTE and depression, and then he unalived himself because of what happened.
that was yes. There was a wrestler that said the same thing. God, what is his name?
This is live television, folks. But whatever, I'm going to keep going while you search it up,
Yeah,
and then because we're about to shift over to a different side of the conversation, because my last red flag after you look at the cell phone and you look at the BAC and you look at the Wikipedia page and you look at the missing house key, you've got a lot of things that go, okay, at the very least, there's more to this conversation than what comes up to, okay? And for me, this is a very important one because until very recently, it wasn't talked about enough, especially not in pro wrestling and the NHL and the NFL and places like that where people take headshots regularly. And that's CTE, because that seems to be the clear-cut favorite as to why this happened. At the base of it, do you think all of these red flags and indiscrepancies and a missing cell phone and the missing house key, could these all be things that happened because Chris was losing his mind? Did he misplace his cell phone? Did he misplace the key? Go ahead, Mike.
Not sure what this guy, maybe you guys could see him and tell me. What is so good. I'm gonna flip my phone around here. That's the guy.
I don't recognize him right off, but drop the link in the chat, and that way people can look at it and watch the video.
All right. Well, this is takes from different. This is different wrestlers, Stevie Ray, even Kevin Sullivan and stuff like that, talking about Benoit.
Shadow says my concussions have played a huge part in my mental health. Mike just dropped the most recent YouTube link for you guys. So we've seen a ton of the red flags. We have a lot of a conversation. Cam, you've come in. You've said, okay, I'm ready to have the conversation. Let's talk about it now. This is the conversation, gentlemen, that it's a kind of a two-parter. We talked about on Mike, you and I did on the Puerto Rico episode a few weeks ago, separating the person and Daniel being, found guilty of the sins of his father and all of that. We talked about it, how it's not fair for that. Two-part question. My first question is, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think Nancy Benoit and Woman, the performer, did enough in a career to have a viable state as a woman and valet and a women's wrestler, valet, and manager to go in the Hall of Fame. Do you think Nancy Benoit should be separated? David Benoit. I'm sorry. I don't know if I said Daniel or not. If it has Nancy done enough, and should we be able to separate Nancy and Woman, the performer, from the tragedy that happened at the Benoit house? And if a Benoit makes the Hall of Fame, should at the very least Nancy Benoit be in there?
All right. Real quick, David's the one that's still alive. That's the
yes.
Daniel's the one that died. So,
yeah, I said Daniel. Fireproof was just correcting me. I mean, David. I said Daniel. Yeah.
No, it was Daniel.
Daniel passed. David was alive. I said we were talking about Daniel in the last episode. We weren't. We were talking about David. I mixed the names up.
Okay.
But now, does Nancy have a big enough stake in her career to have a play for the Hall of Fame?
This is the way I put it. All right. And this is what I believe. You can put them in separately. I believe that Woman should be in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. I would put Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame. And I would give Daniel the Warrior.
Cam, did Nancy do enough to get into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, in a day and age where valets are kind of extinct now, I definitely think she did that role of justice, obviously. But man, I don't know, man. Like, cause before me deep diving into this case, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Now I'm just kind of like, I don't know. And again, maybe I'm just the guy that it's tough for me to just separate the performer from their actual lives or whatever. But I don't know. Because for me now, this case kind of makes me look at her in a different light. Like, man, maybe she wasn't this, like, sweet, innocent wife that I thought she was or whatever. Who knows, man? So for me, I don't know. Probably not. I mean, if we don't have we lost Mike. There he is. If we don't have if we can't have a conversation where I guess Chris is in there as well, then probably not.
Shadow says she wasn't that rememberable for me. When you look at it, though, if you go back and you're gonna have to go back into the 90s, a little bit into the 80s, and you look at the woman, and you look at somebody like a Sensational Sherry, and you look at how they worked, and some more Sensational Sherry than Woman, but Woman still had that same aura about her. If you look at how they worked, she may not have had a ton of memorable moments right offhand for you, but the way she revolutionized in-ring work for women, specifically women at a point where they weren't getting over, I think what she did for the women's sport, she did enough to progress it. Because up until that point, it was just your Wendy Richters and your Fabulous Moolahs and these kinds of people. And then you started getting your Sensational Sherrys and your Womans, and you get some of those other people. So I feel like a little bit historically speaking, like she did more than enough, especially on a hot take, but I don't think Miss Elizabeth deserved the honor either. I'm not sure that Shadow watches wrestling anymore, guys. So the next question obviously is going to be, do you think Chris Benoit deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame? Can we look across the board and go, okay, guys, we're going to separate the man from what happened that night. We're going to look at Chris Benoit, the kayfabe wrestler and worker, versus Chris Benoit, the father and husband and son. So we're just looking at Chris Benoit, the worker. Okay. Did he do enough to get in the Hall of Fame?
110%.
He definitely did, I think, just in his career alone. But see, I guess I'm more afraid of, realistically, if WWE were to pull the trigger on this, the amount of backlash they would get, because not everybody's really going to accept that.
No, you're
You know
absolutely right.
And,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to set the wrestling world on fire in a bad way.
I'm gonna put the best way I can. If Hulk Hogan can drop the hard ER multiple times,
Whoa.
and bang his best friend's fucking wife, and the tape get launched, all right, why can't Benoit go in there?
And not to mention all the other shady, yucky things that Terry did in his life.
There's a lot. I'm just pointing out a couple.
Then you look at people not in just the WWE. Thank you. If Snuka got in, why not Benoit? Al immediately chimes in with Carlos Colon. We talked about him a few weeks ago. You look at people in the NFL Hall of Fame. O.J. Simpson's been acquitted of 2 murders. You look at Ray Lewis, who has been acquitted of 2 separate murders, and they're both still Hall of Famers.
You guys
So
are gonna you're gonna hate me for this. I'm sorry to cut you off, Cam, but Scott Hall, he was acquitted for murder, but he still did it. No,
you're not wrong. A perfect example for Benoit is also hearsay, so he could still be in the Hall of Fame. But it's not hearsay. It was filed as a murder-suicide. Prince, there wasn't hearsay involved. If the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. Cam, the floor is yours. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
So I'm not disagreeing with you guys on those other people that you guys just mentioned. The difference is when, once again, people are gonna hate me for saying this, but it's Vince McMahon. Because I feel like he's willing to sweep under the rug those other people, because some of those other people were like his favorite cash cows. You see what I'm saying? And he's willing to look exactly. He's willing to look the other way to get them in the Hall of Fame because he wants them. You see what I'm saying? Benoit, I don't think he held Benoit to the same standard. And I think the whole Benoit murder case, when that broke out, and then of course they put it out there that it's roid rage and all stuff like that. I think that gave Vince nightmare flashbacks to the whole Hogan thing and the steroid thing and the case thing they have. He was embarrassed by that because they basically had to stick a microphone in his face and say, well, what do you have to say about this roid rage thing being an issue again in your company? So I think Vince went out of his way to be like, nope. After that, I'm embarrassed by this. I don't want anything. I don't want any Benoit talk, yada, yada, erase him from the record books, whatever. So that's why. But I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I get those other cases. I completely understand what you're saying. But that is why I think this in this circumstance is different.
All right. So I have a question for everybody. And I want the chat to chime in on this too. You can say yes or no. It's very simple. If WWE came out and said, we will put in Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame and Nancy, but you have to sign a petition, has to have enough, would you sign that petition to put him in the Hall of Fame? Yes or no?
Scout says yes.
Vince even has a skeleton. Scout says yes. Vince Fireproof says Vince has a skeletons. Fireproof says yes. So if the WWE left it up to the fans and said, we're going to let you guys vote if they get in, this is the first time in history we're going to give you guys the power, would enough fans say yes? I personally would vote Chris Benoit and Nancy both in. I don't think I would have a problem with it. I think I can separate it. Shadow says I don't know, but he's a contrarian, so that's just normal. In an alternate timeline, would they treat Eddie the same way if that happened to him instead of Chris? Exactly. That's the kind of question you got to ask yourself is if it wasn't Chris.
No.
You know,
Eddie, again, this is what I'm talking about, because Eddie was a Vince guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, I still believe Vince would have been like, oh, yeah, I'm willing to look the other way and still put him in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Now, would people have the same feelings if it was? What if it was Eddie that did it?
Probably.
But do you think people would still, or with all the achievements he had and everything he's done
would they erase him completely from history as if he didn't exist?
Would the fans feel the same way if the speculation was Eddie?
Oh yeah, I truly do believe that.
And I would still have the same. I don't care who it is.
They're only fans of you until you do something that they're just like they don't agree with, or they accuse you of something, and then it's like, oh, you're the villain of the story now. It's you know,
and the only
floppy behavior, but you know,
the only reason why Vince would sweep it under, the only reason why he swept it under the rug is because he didn't want to deal with the bad publicity. That's it. He figured, I'm going to deal with this for maybe 6 months to a year, and it's going to go away. But if I defend him, I have to go years and years of being the guy that defended Chris Benoit. Now, what most people don't know, Triple H defended Benoit. And he still says to this day, if I find that video again, I'll send it to Will and I'll send it to you. Him saying that, yes, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Do I think he did it? No.
Shadow says my reason to I don't know is because let's say if we do this, it's going to come back 50-50. There will never be a definitive yes or no. Realistically, the people here tonight are in the minority with believing he deserves the Hall of Fame.
I mean, like I said, you got to think about it, because people are, and this is wrong, and I don't agree with this at all. But you got to think, there's still people coming out in hordes who are like, breaking out the pitchforks against his son, David Benoit, who did nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they're giving him shit off of this case still to this day. So those would be the people that would be like, absolutely not, 100%. No.
Them are shitty people though. Like we're not.
But you get what I'm saying though, right? That's what I'm saying. If they say yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it would cause such disarray in the community.
Fuck all them guys. I'm asking the people that are here. Would you say yes on a petition if you guys had the chance to let them in? It's very simple. Fuck what everybody else. It's just the people here. Let's say Vince said the people in this live right now, in the boxes and in the chat right now, have the decision to do it. Would you vote yes?
I don't know. I don't know. I have my reserves about it. I don't know.
I would
I'm like-
vote yes.
I'm like Sean.
All right, just because of that, this is why Gigi Dolan's gonna fail. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Benoit, David was bullied for years.
Yo, you know what's so funny about that? Like, I never bring her up, but then somebody always just does.
I'm sorry. It's spite, damn it.
The world is based on murder and violence. America still honors presidents who done worse. They honor Christopher Columbus, for fuck's sake. We don't honor Christopher Columbus. We changed the name of that holiday, sir. So, yeah. The world is America. We honor all presidents. They did some pretty terrible things. That can't be taken away either. I'd tread lightly there, sir. You know, Canada, they say it's only a war crime if it's the first time. Like, both countries have done some fucked up stuff. Let's not have that conversation here. Gentlemen, you guys got anything else?
Just, I don't know, man. I wish people would look past what happened. I understand it's hard to look past it. Look at his work. I've never seen one bad Chris Benoit match.
I've never seen a bad Chris Benoit match, and I've seen a lot of bad wrestling, and not very many of them were Chris Benoit matches.
I mean, I would not see any lower than a 4. Lower than a 4. Oh, they're 4 to 5 stars. There's just no fucking doubt about it. I would give them all 5s, but then that would be me being what, favoritism, and I'm not like that.
We all know you're a Benoit stan anyway, so it's okay.
Fuck yeah. Shit.
All right, Cam, this is everybody's favorite part because I shut the fuck up. Plug yourself. Tell everybody where to find you and what you got going on.
Well, you can find me on TikTok at Cam's Wrestling Corner and on my other TikTok page at Call Me Cam G. And of course, on Rivet City Radio every single Wednesday night for another episode of The Boom, and on every Friday night for a Friday night review on Off the Top Media with both my boy Scouts, Jamie, and of course my guy Shadow in the chat. What up, Shadow? And if that does not sizzle your bacon, you'll find me on Instagram at 317 Bacon, Eggs, and Cam.
Mike, tell them where you're at.
Well, so I just recently went ahead and I'm trying to change my my Twitch to Bill Mike or All Wrestling for Life. I already switched the pictures and the logos and my bio and all that stuff. You can also find me on TikTok, Heel Mike, or look for All Wrestling for Life. That's probably what you want to look for because someone else has my name. I don't know why, but fuck that guy. Anyways, and you could also find me on YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well. It's Shady09MN. Trying to change that over to wrestling as well so I can start doing that stuff. And I'm also on Twitter as well, Shady09MN. I'm going to be changing that soon as well.
If you're here and you're watching us on Twitch, hit the follow button. That'd be real swell. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can hit the follow button there as well and hit that little notification bell so you know that when we're going live. More importantly than anything, if you have Amazon Prime, it comes with a gaming subscription for Twitch Gaming. It's free. So you should give it to us, or you should give it to Off the Top, or you should give it to the Wrestle Talk Wolfpack or Creation World. Give it to somebody because Jeff Bezos has way too much fucking money. Give it to somebody so he doesn't get it. If you're a merch person, check out angrylemonade.com/botchbots and chair shots. You can find all that sweet merch, like the flag, stuff like that. You get all that cool shit up there. Check it out. All these links are in the description. The Discord, that's super cool because that's your direct link to all of the Rivet City Radio hosts and Off the Top Media hosts and all of that nonsense. So check all of those links in the description. Boys, Movie Madness is on Saturdays. What's today? Monday, Tuesday. Tomorrow's
Tuesday.
Wednesday. You've got Prince's. Tomorrow's Cam G. Thursday is Boss Bitch Trivia Hour. Friday is Friday Night Review, and Saturday is Prince's Movie Madness on Saturday. That's it. Gentlemen, y'all got anything?
Yeah. Fuck. I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm about to start talking real fast. You ready?
Go ahead. I
3,
love you guys.
2, 1. Now, as we close another episode of Watch, and Share Shots, and take a minute. Thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet. Like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how beautiful Cam's beard is. Either way, it helps the algorithm and it helps find new listeners. If you're feeling really generous to be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Rivet City Radio Podcast Network. You get some fantastic swag. We get some fantastic guests. It's a win-win for my boy, Big Mike, the Belt Collector, for my boy, Cam G. I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.